Was it Mrs. White with a rose? Mr. Green with a pipe?
I didn't do it!
Colonel Mustard with a wrench?
I'm only an interview.
Miss Scarlett with a candlestick?
Practice makes perfect.
Professor Plum with a gun?
What has it got to do with me?
Mrs. Peacock with a knife?
What?
Or did the butler do it?
No.
Clue. It's a comedy with 3 different endings. Who done it depends on where you see it. Rated PG.
Starts Friday, December 13th at a theater near you.
Welcome back to the show, everyone.
Welcome back. It's our Black Friday episode, Pete.
Oh, is it Black Friday?
We always have an episode on Black Friday.
I love it. I love Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy birthday to me tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah.
I am
Black
stuffed.
Saturday. Still. Everybody out there listening, my name is Pete.
And I'm Scott, and these are the movies that made us gay. Well, we finally got to it. We had our friend Hiko over to watch the movie Clue, directed by Jonathan Lynn, released Friday the 13th, December the 13th, 1985.
Wow. Hiko, welcome back to the show.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I think this is number 3 for me.
This is
I
3
feel like
Adventures in Babysitting, and
Go.
then Go.
Okay,
yes.
there you go.
And it's I feel like I need like what they do on SNL when they have the 5-timer
Yeah.
host. I feel like I should get a jacket.
I was going to say we don't quite have our red velvet smoking jackets ready yet, but
Okay.
we will soon.
I had always intended you to do the Clue episode from very early on with the show.
Oh,
so
thank you.
I always knew that when we did get the Clue, we had to have Hiko on because I know that it is your favorite movie. And I have, in fact, seen this movie with you at the Vista when it was still open.
Yes.
We went to a midnight showing of it.
Yes, one of the many I've been to here in L.A.
We also went to, you had a party at your house where you showed a double feature of Clue and Murder by Death.
Yes. Oh, great memory. Yeah.
And that was the first time I had ever seen Murder by Death.
I had never seen Murder by Death.
Oh.
And you have a framed photo of, or you have
Yes,
a framed poster of Murder by
It
Death.
was an original print poster, one of 75, and I think I got it like the only thing I bought on eBay, and I got it nicely framed for my dining room. Yeah,
Love it. And listeners, if you're not familiar, Murder by Death is, what year did that come out?
76.
76. And it's just a super friends of comedy, and they're doing
Who wrote Murder by Death?
pastiche of
Neil Simon.
Okay,
Neil
I was going to say, I
Simon.
know it's a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
playwright.
Yeah, and it's the cast is just amazing.
Yeah, the cast is crazy. How many people are involved in this movie?
They're all a really sultry Maggie Smith,
Right.
Alec Guinness, David Nivens, Peter Falk, Eileen Brennan, a younger Mrs. Peacock. That's what the two have in common.
Yeah.
Truman Capote.
Right? Yeah.
It's that movie is also in my top 5.
But we are here today to talk about the movie Clue, based on the Milton Bradley board game. It is Milton Bradley, right? I just assume it is.
Parker Brothers.
Parker Brothers. Either or, I don't know.
I feel like the credits say Parker Brothers.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The game published in 1949.
Wow.
It's old.
It is old. And in the UK, across the pond, they call it Cluedo. Why?
Oh, sure. I
What
was
the
on
hell is
I was on
Cluedo?
the wiki page today, and that's what it said.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'd like to know that as well.
Cats are acting the fool, as always. They know when we have these mics in our hand that it's time to fight each other. But we'll let that grudge match happen in the other room. Yeah, Cluedo. No one knows what it means. Listeners, if you can tell us what Cluedo, why is it called that? And it's the word Clue, D-O.
Yeah.
When
So
I was
weird.
little, I think I
Cluedo?
pronounced it Cluedo.
Cluedo. So did I. And that's the thing about the Clue as a property. It's like the game. I loved the game as a kid. My older sister really loved it, and she always would beat the hell out of me at it. And so I just wanted to play it more and more so I could get to the point where I could beat her. And there's all these different incarnations of Clue, especially nowadays.
Yes.
We can talk about it a little later on, but the VCR game.
Which I always wanted. I try to track that down.
Yeah, we did. We were lucky enough to have the VCR game, and the entire film, what they produced on the VHS tape. It's all on YouTube.
Yeah,
We
it's
can
all there.
We can watch
Yeah.
it right now.
I'll probably
it's great.
I'll probably cut some of it into the episode. at one point.
It's corny, but I love it.
And was the VCR game called Clue 2 or just Clue the VCR
Gosh,
game?
I think it might have just been Clue the VCR.
I
Game, but there might have been a Clue 2. Yeah,
I vaguely remember as a little kid seeing Clue 2, and at first I thought it was a sequel. Which
right
got
to the
me
movie.
psyched
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
But I currently own 4 incarnations of Clue.
Oh, okay.
We can talk about that later.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. But I mean, this movie, it's like we said, it was released in 1985. So Hiko and I were young. Scott was not around when this movie was released. But it's one of those things that my family always had it on VHS, not like a purchased version, just taped off the television. And so we watched it all the time.
Yeah.
And these jokes are not really it's not an adult movie, but I don't know. I feel like normal kids really didn't get
I
What do you
think it was a special kind of 12-year-old
Yeah.
who would be drawn to this movie. Because I watched, going back to Murder by Death briefly, I was like 5 when I remember seeing that on TV and just being drawn to the antics and the wacky energy of the ensemble. And same for Clue. My family, we weren't able to record stuff on the VCR until like 1992. So I was 12 years old, like recording movies just one after another, and then just wearing down this Clue happened to be on local TV late at night, and I recorded it, and I was like just obsessed.
Yeah.
And I could watch it like multiple times in one weekend.
I think that I remember first watching this that my sister, I think, rented it for a sleepover, and I remember watching it with her and her friends.
Yeah.
I think that my cousin was over that night and us renting Clue. And for us, it was just, look at this movie at the video store in the comedy section based on the board game Clue.
Right.
And it has the guy from Back to the Future in it.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I think I also grew up, we were talking about in our last episode, the Leslie Ann Warren Cinderella. And I remember watching that on Disney.
Yeah.
So I recognized her
and
just sort of finding this just at the video store.
Right.
And I remember when we watched it, we couldn't get enough of it. And I remember us rewinding the shot of Jane Weedland getting shot. That we rewinded that like 10 times and just laughed our asses off.
Oh, there's so many rewindable moments.
Oh, yeah,
in this
absolutely.
movie.
Yeah. And it's something that little kids, even though maybe we didn't get a lot of the humor, because some of the humor is a little grown up. It's not like adult that's the good thing about this movie is that it can play on network TV or basic cable, and they don't really have to cut anything.
Yeah.
Because it's like, there's like murder and intrigue and all that, but it's farce.
There's innuendo, but it's nothing that kind of crosses the line.
And mostly for kids, it's like people are running back and forth and slamming doors.
They're in a cool old house.
Jack in the Box is opening and slapping each other and
Classic farce.
Yeah.
Although, and although if you watch the unedited DVD or I don't think there's any cursing, but I've always picked up on towards the end when Professor Plum gets confronted. He says the lines. He goes, "Oh shucks,"
yeah,
and it looks like it's
all
80
shucks.
yard,
Sure.
and that he
Oh,
might have
yeah.
actually said shit.
Okay, yeah, and they went back in.
And yeah,
Interesting. I never really noticed
like
that.
something about the lip
noticed that
reading.
either.
Sure, yeah.
in that one. That's how crazy
Well, there
I
is
am
a
on
lot.
this movie.
There is a lot of ADR in this movie, but there's a lot of pouring rain in the background.
The
know,
the guy that
the motorist.
the motorist.
Yeah,
You can definitely tell all of his dialogue is 80 yard.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, because his most of his dialogue in his first scene is in the open doorway, and all the rain is pouring down behind him. So
Oh,
they
yeah.
probably couldn't
Yeah.
get any of his dialogue. But as young kids, 1985, I'm like probably in the second grade, and loved Back to the Future. Obviously, didn't put 2 and 2 together. That's
The same
well, I knew
year
it was
as Back to the
I knew
Future
it was
too.
the doc,
Yeah.
but like I didn't think that it was the same time. Like it was like this couldn't possibly be the same year as when he was Doc Brown. But it's like there were some people in the cast that I knew. I knew him from Back to the Future. My dad and my uncle loved Mel Brooks, so we knew Madeline Kahn, and we knew she was funny. Lenny from Laverne and Shirley, Lenny and Squiggy.
Yeah.
Michael
Yeah.
McKean is in this.
Yeah.
And so it's like it had a lot of people that I recognized, and so it was just something that we could watch over and over again.
We were always very fascinated with, Miss Scarlett and Miss White, just because they look so beautiful.
The glamour.
Yeah, Clue was my introduction to Leslie Ann Warren and Madeline Kahn.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
I was, and I'm sure we can talk about it a little bit more, but the Miss Scarlett's gown, starting with the coat.
The coat is
with
so
the
beautiful.
huge collar, gold lined collar, and it's like this dark green. What color green would we call this?
Emerald.
It's an emerald green, and it's like a satin, like a shiny satin, and it's got like this gold lining and this huge, exaggerated collar, which then we don't see her remove it. Because when you see her in the collar, it looks like it's one piece. Then the collar and the coat is gone, and now she has this like chiffon wrap that like is attached to a brooch that goes behind her shoulders.
It's very well designed.
And it wraps around. It's like, oh my God.
It's giving you a
stun.
It's giving you a
gag.
little, at times, like Dior silhouette.
Yes,
from the 50s.
it's absolutely Dior, but it doesn't have a skirt. It's
it
tight.
just doesn't have a skirt.
It's a tight skirt. It doesn't have a flared skirt.
I feel like it's also just begging to be done in a drag performance.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't know. I might not have seen it, but I don't know if that exists in the world.
I'm sure
it
does.
The big the big spoken word drag performance would have to be Mrs. White's famous lines towards the end of this movie. But before we even get to the big lines that we love and all that, we have to talk about. I think I'm 2 years older than you, Hiko. So I do remember. I remember seeing Back to the Future in the theater, but we didn't see this in the theater. But I remember it on the marquee. And I remember the marquee saying Clue version 2.
Love it.
And saying, what in the hell does that mean? And my dad explaining it to me, because I guess I wasn't paying attention to the commercials, explaining it that there's 3 different versions of it. And just being like, what? And he's like, yeah, the end is different. And you don't know which one you're going to get, whichever movie theater you go to. And they say 1, 2, 3 or ABC, depending on what movie theater you're at. And I remember passing by the Temple City Edwards on Rosemead and Temple City Boulevard or Valley. It's where Mama Petrillo's is. SGV people, where are you at? And seeing that and being fascinated by that and thinking, wow, is that something that's like done a lot and really has never been done since
No,
then?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I can't recall any time when that's been done. It's really it was really experimental.
It's the closest thing when they did the digital effect work on the cats and they switched the print on Sunday.
So you may have seen one version.
You may have seen Judi Dench's wedding ring on Friday and Saturday.
Oh my God! Well, the closest thing that resembles some kind of like experimental release strategy would be when they were doing the Fear Street movies back before they were going to be on Netflix.
Okay,
they were supposed to be released by 20th Century Fox.
Oh,
in a theatrical run 1 month after each other.
Okay, that would be fun. Yeah, that would be
kind
really
of like
fun.
what
Serials, like a serial.
kind of
they
like
called
what
it like a binge movie.
Okay,
experience.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like what the Wachowskis did with the Matrix movies by
the sequels,
summer and fall.
Oh yeah,
those were 6 months apart. I remember that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember that. I remember being fascinated by it, and then when it was released, I remember we rented it first. We rented it on beta because my dad had a beta.
Wow,
a Betamax.
Love it.
With the remote control that plugged in, and so you could be remote, but not that remote. And I remember the endings. And I remember the 3 endings. And he was like, remember how it said that's all 3 of them? And me and my sister were like, oh yeah. Cute. I love it. We were talking about it on this rewatch. Like, we even had to rewatch it. But we were talking about it on this rewatch that, like, if you just see it with one ending, that's kind of a short movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You missed some really good scenes.
Especially the third ending is like
yes. I always
the whole
took it
enchilada.
Yeah, and I think to me too, because it says it in the title card, But here's what really happened. So my 7-year-old, probably 8-year-old brain by the time it got on VHS or Betamax, at that time, to me, that was like, this is the real ending because this is what the movie makers are telling you is the real ending.
Yeah.
And I never thought like, well, I guess it could have been any of them.
Hiko, do you remember when we saw this at the Vista and when they introed it, they got the print from Paramount?
Yes.
And the guy introing it, I think with Secret Movie Club, said, I have no idea what print they sent over. And do you remember which one it was?
Oh.
I think it was
I think it was the third.
It was the third one. It was the one with all of them.
Yeah.
But you didn't see the 1, 2, 3. You just saw it with only the.
I mean, I think that we did see all of them,
No,
actually.
they
Oh,
showed all
okay.
three.
So there is a video
there is a
release.
master print on
Yeah.
film with all of them.
Because the Vista did only show. Oh, maybe they did show.
And that might have been the last midnight screening of Clue I went to because freaking Paramount. Sorry, Paramount. But curses to you because they put a cease and desist on these screenings.
I think
no.
especially for the shadow ones.
Well, yeah, with the shadow cast, which I
Why?
knew
Who
someone.
cares?
I knew someone who played Wadswroth in the shadow cast.
Wow.
And for those of you who don't
That's
know
a
what a
tough
shadow
role.
cast is, it's basically people on a platform underneath the screen reenacting and lip syncing to the movie as it's playing.
Yeah.
which is amazing.
Yeah, it's what it's what made Rocky Horror famous in
Yeah.
the 70s and early 80s.
They've done it for a lot of movies.
Yeah, I saw one for Hedwig. I think I talked about it on that episode.
You did.
Oh wow.
But yeah, when those things are happening, it's like what the movie theater is making like $300 off of it. Wow, like what is it? How does it hurt?
I know.
That's terrible.
Well, especially
Hate
if you have to pay to get the print
Right.
of the movie, you should be be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lame.
I think that the multiple endings did have an effect on how this movie was received with critics.
Yeah.
Too, because I remember loving this movie and then getting on the internet when I was like 13 years old and looking up the Roger Ebert review, looking up how the movie was received, and just being kind of surprised that it had a reputation for not being very liked at the time.
Yeah.
Which I think is very interesting.
Which is wild because it's like, maybe you don't like the gimmicky nature of the multiple endings. And I guess the like uber pessimist like Letterboxd guy is going to be like, oh, they're not going to make me pay 3 times to see this movie. But it's like, it doesn't mean the movie's not good. It's so good. The script is so good. And all of these actors are like just
they're
demolishing
really killing it.
this movie. And so it just sucks that it kind of had that reputation at the time. And that's probably why in the past 40 years, we haven't seen another kind of instance where they've done this with the multiple endings.
I was reading that the multiple endings was sort of an idea of John Landis, who did passes at the script and produced it. I think that kind of came from him. I was kind of curious if John Landis was ever attached to direct it at any point.
Probably was, and it's by the time it gets released, it's 1985. So let's say he was attached to direct it for a couple of years, and then the unfortunate accident
On the Twilight Zone
on
movie.
the set of the Twilight Zone movie happens,
Oh, yeah.
and they're like, maybe you just don't helm this movie.
Yeah, I was also reading that
Maybe we'll let someone
John
else
Landis claimed in an interview that he got playwright Tom Stuppard to do a pass at the script.
I read that.
And then apparently Stephen Sondheim and Anthony Perkins were attached at one point to develop it. And then Jonathan Lynn and I think John Landis sort of just came up with the script that they ended up shooting.
Sure.
Yeah, and Jonathan Lynn being a British,
Yeah.
British man, the whole vibe of the movie too is very British farce.
Right.
So maybe American audiences weren't ready for that kind of manic humor.
True. Yeah.
We pulled the.
I was gonna say,
we pulled the Siskel and Ebert.
Do you want to hear
at
what
the
they?
movies?
Do you want to hear what they have to say?
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's take a listen.
There's some pretty funny gags there, and that one about the crossing of the legs, that is a classic. Now, after those gags early in the film, there's a murder, and that's where the movie falls apart, as all the characters begin running around the mansion as if they were mice in a maze. And then there's the matter of the film's ending. It has been well advertised by Paramount Pictures that 3 different endings, lasting about 3 minutes apiece, were filmed for this movie, revealing 3 different murderers. Well, think about it. If we know that walking into the movie, then we really can't get too excited about guessing who done it, because, think about it, literally anybody could have done it, and anybody did do it. 3 different people did do it. And that cuts the heart out of the tension of a mystery. Now, either Paramount should have showed all 3 endings, as they did to critics, or, better yet, simply strengthen the script and pick the best murder ending of all.
I think it would have been better just to do all 3 endings, because since you're right, it doesn't matter who did it, then why do we only get one person who did it? I thought it was kind of clever that the same facts fit 3 different guilty parties, and so it would be fun to see all 3. I'll bet that's what they do with a video cassette. They're going to have to throw all 3 endings in. What are you going to do, buy 3 cassettes?
No.
In order to find out when he didn't care in the first place who did it?
I will say this. I've seen all 3 endings. The critics got to do that. The public didn't. And the theaters are marked A, B, and C where they're playing. Now, Paramount doesn't want me to do this, but...
Okay, so let's both of us...
do it at once.
Okay.
The best ending, I think the funniest ending is A.
I agree.
What's the best? So go to a theater if you go at all, and I don't know whether you should go at all, and an A theater. Stay away from the worst, which is... C.
Right.
Hey, you're smart.
To make it even easier, probably be best if you didn't go to this movie at all. Next at the movies, the story of what happened to Alice after she left Wonderland.
I mean...
Shade.
What?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if the order of A, B, and C is the order that we get now,
Because
that would mean
they prefer the Miss Scarlett ending then.
Yeah, they prefer the Miss Scarlett ending.
and the true real ending
We'll-
they've said
we'll-
is the worst.
We'll break down all of the A, B, and C endings too.
Yeah, because the C ending has the famous Madeline Kahn quote, too.
Yes, exactly. We don't get it until ending C, and it's kind of the Murder on the Orient Express kind of thing, where it's just like, well, no, not one person did it, everybody did it.
Yeah, who done it?
Yeah,
They all did
it. Yeah. So,
But that was just kind of, I think, the critical climate around this movie that I think most critics kind of shared with this take on it.
I think the gimmick, the marketing gimmick of it gave them a bad taste, gave it a bad taste in their mouth, and that colored their judgment of the movie. So.
Well, also, did they just have a judgment of the movie just because it was branded after a board game? Too, going into it.
That wasn't really like. I mean, that really hasn't happened too much. I mean, we got Battleship, and that was like we saw what happened there.
Yeah.
But now we get toy movies and movies based on a lot of different things.
Yeah, no IP is safe.
Yeah, exactly. But I think in '85 that was really like what?
Yeah,
like a movie on a freaking.
Have they really run out of ideas?
Yes, yeah. But I don't know. I think when you watch it, like you said, it does harken back to like. It has very British sensibilities and all that, but I think it's still like to this day. I think it's still a really fresh story. And if I remember having friends like in college that had never seen it and being like, "Oh my god, I have to show you this movie." You're so lucky you haven't seen this. You get to watch it for the first time right now, and they all were like, "That was really funny."
Even though I've seen this movie a lot, this is one of those movies, kind of like when I watch Vertigo. There are elements that I forget about, so when I watch it. I do feel like I'm watching it for the first time, that it's fun to just go on the journey with the characters just because, I mean, you're just like plowing right ahead with all of them as they're trying to solve all of this. So that's what's kind of fun for me to, like, for me when I rewatch it.
Yeah.
And the first 15 times that I've seen it,
sure.
I'm always picking up, not on just on new little tiny details, like I'll pick up on a certain facial tick or gesture that someone does in like in a quick shot, or that's how much I've seen the movie. Like I really know it like the back of my hand.
Yeah,
I can quote every single line, which is insane. It's probably just one of 2 movies in my whole life where I can do that.
Some of their cutaways to these actors are so funny. What are your favorites?
Cutaway. I mean,
they're just reaction cutaways to the actors.
I think Michael Mckean is doing the Lord's work in this movie. I feel like he's reacting in the background a lot of the time when he doesn't even have any dialogue. He's just like, "What is going on?" And that his character is just the one that's like, "All right, what the hell?"
Eileen Brennan has some funny, some funny reaction shots.
Funny. I mean, Eileen Brennan is.
Oh my god!
She's
killing it here.
I laugh every time she's on screen, and that's the thing. Eileen Brennan is somebody that I, as a kid in the early '80s, I knew from Private Benjamin. So all these people kind of had these like long histories, and you finally throw them together here, and it's like, of course, it's
Eileen Brennan does have some. Speaking of like reaction shots, I'm trying to remember what scene it is, but she does like this grunt that is what I'm totally forgetting on what you would think I know it.
Yeah.
She someone says something and she goes, huh? It's just so amazing. And of course, like they mentioned in the Siskel and Ebert review, the legs crossing. While Mrs. White is explaining her late husband's demise. God, everyone just has a great chance to shine.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing too is like for people like us who had watched it early on as kids, we think it's funny because they're slapping each other and dropping ladies on the floor and running back and forth. But there are jokes that we later got as adults that maybe we didn't really laugh or know what they meant as kids. And then just a lot of things that not even jokes, but just like the whole political climate.
Yeah, I was going to say it set during the McCarthy hearings.
Yeah, and the joke about Wadsworth's wife having friends who are socialists.
And I love all of them look shocked, and then Leslie Ann Warren is just looking back and forth. Like,
you hear
Mrs. Peacock
in the background.
Yeah, she's grimacing. She's a senator's wife. She can't be around socialists. Stuff like that. And Michael Mckean. Well, okay, we have to set up that these people are brought to this house. Right. They all have a mysterious letter. They've been summoned to this home.
And you had a letter, and you had a letter, and you had a letter.
You had a letter. And when they arrive, they're greeted by the butler, Wadswroth, played by Tim Curry, and he greets them with a pseudonym, a name of a character from the board game Clue, which does not exist in this movie. And so they're Colonel Mustard and Mrs. White and Miss Scarlett and so forth.
How did you guys feel when you were kids that
they didn't match the characters on the game?
Match the characters on the game. I thought that was
kind of mad about it.
Color. No,
very
the
interesting.
wardrobe did not offer any color shades to their characters.
Mrs. White is famously the maid in the game,
and Miss Scarlett on a lot of the game boxes is Asian.
Is Asian
too.
Yeah. Colonel Mustard is like an English explorer type, with the pith helmet and the big mustache.
I was always obsessed with our Clue box.
Sure.
That
did you have the 80s one, or like do you have like the super
classic,
60s one?
The classic Clue one?
I think that it was probably one from the early 90s,
and
they were sort of a painting of everyone, and I remember being obsessed with how glamorous Miss Scarlett looked.
Okay. In the VCR game, they are closer to their archetypical board game cover characters. I remember being like, okay, Mrs. White is supposed to be the maid, and in this movie she's just a glamorous woman.
And we have Yvette the maid.
Yvette is the maid,
bouncing boobs.
Made-up character. Colleen Camp, who is not French. Well, maybe she's French, but she doesn't have this accent.
She's not.
This was the...
Yes. Oh, that's the one I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where I'm bringing up my Clue. It's
The
like a
version you
retro
have.
series.
That's the one I have from probably the late 80s.
Miss Scarlett just lounging on the couch, just selling sex, smoking. I'll post a picture of it. I'll put it on the Instagram.
But yeah, it's set against this backdrop of like political intrigue in the 1950s,
set in New England,
and the movie starts. It says New England, 1954.
Yep.
I think Shake, Rattle, and Roll is playing. Is it Bill Haley and his Comets? I think. And as a kid, I'm just like, New England. I'm 7. I'm 6. What is like New England? Where's that? They're not teaching us that in first grade social studies.
Should these people have British accents?
Yeah. And then all this stuff with like J. Edgar Hoover calling, like, why is J. Edgar Hoover on your phone? He's on everybody else's, So it's like, as a kid, I don't know what that means. Why is that funny? And as we age, we learn our history finally, and we start to get these deeper jokes that didn't really, affect us when we were kids. But so there's layers, and the movie has lasted this long because of all that. It's like there's all these different types. Of
like it works so much better. Unlike think of this movie if it would have been set in '85.
Oh,
and
no,
just how weird it would have been.
Yeah, if it's a Clue movie, has to
like
be.
if it would have been contemporary at the time, it wouldn't have worked.
But I mean, it just starts off right off the bat as Wadsworth is shuffling everybody into the library, with the false library door opening and closing on people, and
and even that, as a little kid, you just look at that set, it's like a fun house.
Oh my God, the set! We talk about this house that they made, complete with square tiles on the ground?
Yep.
And they do some overhead shots, so you can see that it's like this is a board game.
Yeah.
And that, I think they shot that at the Burbank Studios.
Okay.
Sure. It was on one of the lots, either Burbank or Paramount. Mm-hmm.
And then, according to, actually, I know someone who worked on it many, many years ago. They also filmed it on location in Pasadena.
There's the exteriors.
The exteriors of the mansion are in Pasadena.
Okay.
Which I would love to track this down.
Well, the thing is, the only thing that is real is there's like a low wall, because the house is clearly a matte painting, a beautiful matte painting. When you watch it on a good TV, or a modern TV, I should say.
Yeah, it's like you're driving up to the house.
Yeah, all of that is completely a matte painting, but there's a portion as they're driving up, and there's like a low wall, and it goes down, and it's kind of hard to explain, but that's real.
I would imagine
that's used in other movies.
I would imagine that it's probably where those mansions in Pasadena where Wayne Manor
where the
is.
Wayne Manor, yeah.
Also where Tom Girardi's house is.
No, it's on the other side of the freeway.
On the other side, okay.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
That's where Wayne Manor is.
Mm-hmm. What about the Death Becomes Her mansion?
Oh, right. Now that's...
I think that's more in San Marino.
That I don't know.
And that's been used, I feel like, in several movies, too.
Okay.
I think that one of the exteriors...
But that's, again, just the ground level, and then everything else going up is completely...
Yeah, one of the exteriors for that is definitely in San Marino.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they do, they kind of show how, on the board game, there are these specific rooms that are just for one purpose, the billiard room and the library. And
we were wondering what a lounge, or no.
The lounge.
Yeah, the lounge. What is the lounge for in an old house?
I guess to...
A salon?
I was wondering
to rest in before dinner or after dinner.
I was wondering
drinks.
if you were a guest and you were just waiting for the owner of the house to come down. Because you would wait in the lounge.
That's where they put the motorist, is in the lounge.
Mm-hmm.
The cop gets put in the library, and then all the bodies are in the study.
Oh, the study.
The study. But that's where most of the action takes place after dinner.
The study is mainly an office.
Yeah, it looks like an office. It has a fireplace. It's a big room. Mm-hmm. There's a conservatory, and I always refer to rooms that look like that, with like a big atrium kind of room. I always call them conservatories.
I mean, it's like when you're on the Haunted Mansion ride and you go through the conservatory, and there's the coffin.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a greenhouse.
Yeah, a greenhouse room with plants inside, an herbarium, as
arboretum.
Yes. I always remember in Rosemary's Baby, Mia Farrow says that that the Castavets have an herbarium, and she just has an herb garden in her kitchen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we love the sets of this movie, and there's like the peripheral people that are not just our players, because Wadsworth obviously doesn't have an analogy character in the game.
Because it's Mr. Body.
But yeah, or is Mr. Body even in the game? I thought they kind of introduced the whole Mr. Body thing.
Mr. Body
I thought they kind of introduced the whole Mr. Body thing after this movie, because the game doesn't... I think maybe the instructions on the game now say Mr. Body has died or whatever. Like, that's the person that's dead. But I think that was introduced in this movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think. I could be completely wrong.
I remember from the games. Yeah. You're at Body Manor, and he was the host.
Mm-hmm. And that's in I think that's in the VCR game. But the butler in the VCR game, his name is Did It. Get it? He's the butler. Did It.
Oh.
And we also have the cook.
Dinner will be ready at 7:30.
Her one line, but very memorable.
Kelly Nakapura, she passed away recently.
Oh, did she?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but this was the first time I had seen a lot of people too. Colleen Camp, who I would go on to see on Roseanne a lot.
Yeah, you see Colleen Camp show up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
My first... Well, it was more like an internship when I first moved to LA. I worked for an independent production company, and the producers I worked for had a business relationship with Colleen Camp.
Ooh.
because she, I guess, was producing back then.
Okay.
And so I would answer the phone sometimes, and a couple of times it was Colleen. And I'm like so like biting my tongue, wanting to say how much of a fanboy I am.
Like, oh my God, Yvette!
They no, not my face, but every inch of my body.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's very cool.
That was my first like 1 degree of separation to the Clue alumni.
Yeah, that's really cool. We wanted to go over the characters kind of bit by bit and what we love about each of these actors and what they bring to these performances. This is the first thing that I had seen Tim Curry in. I mean, at 7 years old.
That's a hard call for me.
At 7 years old, I had not seen Legend yet.
Yeah, and that came out in 85 as well.
Both in 85. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
That is some fucking range right there.
And where do you find the time?
You're playing
Legend?
Darkness and Legend, and then you can just skip right over
to Wadsworth.
A
decade after Rocky Horror.
I was going to say, and I was still a couple of years away from Rocky Horror.
I had an uncle who introduced me to Rocky Horror at a very young age, and I might have been 9 or 10.
Yeah.
I think I watched Rocky Horror when I was a teenager.
So I feel
Probably
like
around
Rocky
14.
Horror coincided with my introduction to Clue.
Sure.
I hate to be the younger millennial of the group, but I think that it's, for my introduction to Tim Curry, it's probably Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Not Muppet Treasure Island.
Not Muppet Treasure Island.
At least it was Lost in New York, which is fine. But yeah, I obviously Tim Curry has these like iconic characters. You know, like we said, Rocky Horror and Legend and Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. But I think, you know, when I'm watching this as a kid, he's just like, he's in every shot practically.
Oh, yeah. He has a lot of dialogue in the script.
Well, and for the last act.
Oh, yeah.
He
It's
does
all just
so much heavy lifting.
It's all just a giant paragraph
of
him explaining who did it.
Yeah.
And not only is he explaining who did it, he's running back and forth. He's, you know, falling out of refrigerator doors, you know, chasing people down and all of that stuff. It's like a physically demanding performance, but still really funny. And like, just, you know, he's holding the movie up and it's like, I'm good with it. You know, he's doing
and he never feels like he's carrying it all his own too.
Well, no, because everybody else
because
is so
everyone
good.
else is so good.
They're like huge, like titans of like comedy. So it's like you don't feel like it's just one person's movie when really he is doing a lot of heavy lifting, especially in that third act. But yeah, so Wadsworth, and maybe he's possibly is Mr. Body. If we're gonna believe,
if we believe
ending
the third
3,
ending.
Sure.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot about the Worst Witch. It's probably a toss-up between the Worst Witch and Home Alone.
Which
it might be the Worst Witch that I remember first seeing him in.
Which also came out in 85.
Wow. Oh my God.
I just remember. And I have not seen that movie. It keeps coming up every Halloween.
We did a revisit of it this last October.
I've never seen it all the way through.
He had never seen it all the way through.
He only watches it.
But I remember it being rerun on the
barely
Disney Channel
paying
every
attention.
October when I was a kid.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't watch it growing up either. I was watching Clue for my Tim Curry fix. But I do remember when my sister was probably about 15, she found out about Rocky Horror. We rented it. We watched it together. She told me the whole backstory of, you know, the legendary midnight showings and all that stuff. And we watch it, and I'm just like, whoa, Wadsworth, what the hell is going on? You know, I'm like 12 at this point. And yeah, that's when I started to kind of understand that Tim Curry just kind of has like a crazy cool punk rock, like weird career.
Well, there's those pictures on the Legend set with him and Grace Jones.
Yeah.
Which I think I think you would have to put his photo in a dictionary next to the word camp as well.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Because
yeah.
he cornered that, like that became his brand, I feel like, when you look at his whole filmography.
Yeah. Yeah. And he just has that booming voice.
Yeah.
You know, and he's English in this cast of Americans, and so he's kind of like, even though he's the butler, I buttle.
And those expressive eyes.
Yeah, you know. So it does kind of seem like he's the one that he is masterminding everything that's going on, you know. Whether or not he is the real Mr. Body, I think that the character Wadsworth still is he's pulling all the strings in the entire movie. You know, even when Mr. Body or the fake Mr. Body, you know, arrives. So we should go down the line. Who
I mean,
who do you got?
just going on IMDb.
All right, what do you got?
Eileen Brennan.
All right,
as
so
Mrs.
Eileen
Peacock.
Brennan as Mrs. Peacock.
Yes, I only knew of her from maybe the couple of scenes I've seen in Private Benjamin when I was little, and then of course, as I mentioned before, she's in Murder by Death, Neil Simon's Murder by Death, which is, I think, the granddaddy of Clue.
Yeah.
And that was about it.
Sure. I think she did a couple of episodes of Laverne and Shirley at some point. But, you know, and Mrs. Peacock in this movie, not wearing a blue dress. Mrs. Peacock typically, classically wears a blue dress in all of the Clue game.
Do you want to know my introduction of Eileen Brennan was?
Sure.
The New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking.
All right, there you go. The New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking. So the fake Pippi Longstocking.
The one that you don't like.
Yes, the fake Pippi.
The fake one.
Yeah, because the real one is the Swedish one with Ingrid Nilsson from the 70s, where it is dubbed into English and their lips don't match the words.
Oh, wow.
They used to show those. KTLA, Family Film Festival, movie for a Sunday afternoon. Practically every other weekend in the 80s. I love Mrs. Peacock in this movie. She just has some great physical stuff. Yeah. Her hat with the feathers in it, just like getting in her face.
Yeah.
You know, when she's just is going to town on that dinner.
Oh my God, the soup scene.
Well, someone's got to break the ice, and it might as well be me. I mean, I'm used to being a hostess. It's part of my husband's work, and it's always difficult when a group of new friends meet together for the first time to get acquainted. So I'm perfectly prepared to start the ball rolling. I mean, I have absolutely no idea what we're doing here, or what I'm doing here, or what this place is about, but I am determined to enjoy myself, and I'm very intrigued, and oh my, this soup's delicious, isn't it?
Slurping that monkey's brains, though popular in Cantonese cuisine, are not often found in Washington, D.C.
Is that what we ate? Ooh, it's my favorite recipe.
I know, madam.
Her little speech about, you know, awkward silences and, you know.
And she's used to being part of a host. It's part of her husband's work. And it's, you know.
We're not supposed to say who we really are.
Well, heavens to Betsy, I don't know why, but I am determined to enjoy myself. And oh my, this soup's delicious, isn't it?
Heavens to Betsy. She says heavens to Betsy, and I love it.
The rest of this episode is just going to be us quoting the movie.
Oh my, this soup's delicious. And that's, again, you know, that's kind of what when we started this show to begin with, right? My cousins would hang out and play with us a lot. We had cousins that were our age, and they would always come over, and we're always playing with our cousins. And every now and then it would be like, let's sit down, let's watch a movie. If they got to choose, it was...
They're not putting on Clue.
Rocky, Karate Kid,
Predator.
Top Gun.
Oh, God.
Predator I was watching. You know, but, you know, for me and my sister were choosing, it was Back to the Future, Clue, you know... European Vacation, but you know, they did not give two shits about Clue, and like they weren't, and if they did, they didn't care about Mrs. Peacock and Mrs. White. Those are not their favorite characters. You know, the older like dowager widow and the senator's wife,
madam, and a politician's
and
wife,
a DC madam,
madam. Yeah.
You know, I was obsessed with these three ladies.
Yeah.
You know, their outfits, their performances, their attitudes, everything. I was just like, I found something in each of them.
We were drawn to the camp, and it takes a special little
gay
child
boy
to just recognize it, respect it, quote it, love it, learn it.
And all three, like I said, all three of these ladies have memorable, quotable scenes.
Yeah.
You know, and they're all, like you said, they're all completely different, like a DC madam. And I mean, we'll go right to...
so kind of moving down to Madeline Kahn as Mrs.
Kahn.
White.
Sure.
we're very fascinated with Hiko. Do you think that her sleeves are detachable from her dress?
Oh.
When you look at her sleeves.
The answer's in the movie.
Oh, it is?
Yes. When the flames are on the side of her face,
both
of her arms are
holds
up, holding her hands to the sides of her face.
Can you see them connected?
They're not connected.
Yep.
Her sleeves are like leg warmers for her arms.
They were not like gloves? She didn't have gloves on?
No, they're just they're not gloves. They're completely just. It's like an opera. It's a 3/4 length sleeve, but her dress is strapless.
Oh.
So her shoulders and her décolletage are
Yes.
completely bare.
Yes.
But she has a 3/4 length sleeve on, but the top of the sleeve ends right at her bust. So when she's just standing and talking, it looks like the sleeve could be part of the dress.
Yeah.
But in the flames on the sides of my face, she raises both her arms, and you see that they're literally arm warmers. They're like leg warmers. They're just tubes that are slid onto her arms.
So this movie was costumed by Michael Kaplan, and I would imagine that he probably did the sketch as a kind of like a traditional dress, and they probably just
cut him off
just because Madeline was running around this entire set, and it would probably just be more comfortable for her.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something I'll have to look forward to and pick up on next time I watch it.
Yeah, we're talking about it as the movie was going on, and then when my favorite speech happened, I was like, oh, there it is.
Yes, I did it. I killed Yvette. I hated her so much. It flames on the side of my face, heaving breaths.
I love her entrance. Because she's in the coat,
and
she
has the big reveal,
white satin lining of this overcoat.
Right before she sniffs the dog shit that she stepped in.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. It's like sometimes there's sophisticated humor is really smart, but then Wadsworth steps in dog shit and everybody smells it.
And that gag, that running gag, was edited out of the TV version.
No.
So, for like the first 10 years I was in love with this movie.
Yeah.
I
had no idea.
I had no idea until I got the DVD and saw the
God.
unedited version. And it's,
what kind of puritanical editor is sitting there saying, we got to cut that dog shit scene? Like, come on. This is gross. People are eating. I love that now that we know her relationship kind of with... I don't know, everybody in the movie, she kind of like the way she looks at Mrs. Scarlett and the way she looks at Yvette, and she's just very like, she's playing a lot in scenes where there's not dialogue.
That's a great actress.
Yeah.
You can tell she holds this disdain for the other characters.
Yeah.
And, when she's accused, we're all learning each other's pasts after Mr. Body is killed.
Mm-hmm.
They're all learning about their past, and she like denies something, and it's almost like seems like an ad lib where she like does she does something with her tongue.
There's a lot of Madeline Kahn little ticks in there that I think are definitely her throwing them in. The different characters kind of deny or refute whatever what they're accused of at the beginning in different ways, and hers is very funny because she's just like, nope. My first husband, he died. Second husband, he was an illusionist. He disappeared.
He never reappeared. Well, he wasn't a very good illusionist.
She's just like, she has nothing. She's not giving away anything.
Men are like Kleenex, soft, strong, and disposable.
Mm-hmm. There's a line that she said that until I got the DVD, I could not decipher what she was saying.
What was it?
And I had to put the subtitles on.
Oh.
And she's it's after the cook is killed, and Colonel Mustard says something about drawn to it like flies. And she says, flies are where men are most vulnerable. But she says it really fast.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's like, what? Fly, and that's also kind of a joke that is like, what does that mean? Flies like your zipper. Flies are where men are most vulnerable.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that to me.
Love it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Yeah.
My mind is blown right now.
Because it sounds like she's saying flies are women.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know?
Flies are where men
are most vulnerable. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, I had no clue. And I remember when I got this DVD, and it's the old cheap kind of DVD that's in the cardboard with the little claps.
It's the old, it's the old Paramount DVDs.
Oh, no, I'm lying. It doesn't have the click. It's plastic. It's right in front of my face. But it's the old Paramount DVD. There's not really. Well, there's the 3 endings, but it also has the thing where you can choose which ending you watch.
Yeah, that's true. We always pick
with all 3.
All 3.
Yeah.
You got
it does a thing where it either randomizes it or you watch it with everything.
Yes.
Those are the options.
Yep.
Yeah, which is great. But yeah, when I finally got that, I was like, I'm gonna find out what she freaking says because I want to know.
And you would think there would have been some kind of anniversary Blu-ray,
right?
I mean, we are now more than 35 years past.
Sure. I mean, Paramount has their Paramount
their fakey Criterion collection.
Their fake Criterion collection.
We Paramount get a Paramount.
Yeah.
They just did Ghost.
Yeah, that's how.
Come on, Paramount.
Ghost DVD is.
They got to wait till what, the 40th anniversary now, which
seriously.
is 3 years from now.
Yeah,
but I guess for the 30th anniversary, I feel like there was some indie documentary behind the scenes. I think you can find it on YouTube.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember hearing about that, and yeah, I think I remember hearing about when it was like in crowdfunding mode.
Yes,
sure. Yeah,
yes.
And then I was like, well, that's never.
Well, there was a
out.
big BuzzFeed oral history of it that I remember that they
by
got
Adam
interviews.
Berry.
That I think they got interviews with almost everyone.
Yes, that was for the 30th anniversary,
including Tim Curry. That they put it back in the article when he had sort of recovered, and he could give a better interview.
Yeah, I think they came out in 2015 for the 30th anniversary, and that was a great, very in-depth piece about the movie.
Okay.
And so we can move on to Leslie Ann Warren.
Wait, I want to talk a little bit more about Madeline Kahn because there were like those crazy Madeline Kahn tics when they're singing for She's a Jolly Good Fellow.
And
she's doing those ad-lib harmonies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dead on the floor every time. I would rewind that to listen to her.
And also,
you can see Martin Mull reacting to her because I don't think it was planned. No. Mm-hmm. And he turns to her and like, "What is this woman doing?"
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Who thinks of that? Like comic genius.
Yeah. Well, and Madeline Kahn just is one of those kind of like comic geniuses that is like, is she crazy? Yeah. Is she all there?
Yeah.
Because she just plays off this stuff. And, if you watch Blazing Saddles, I'm tired. Like, the way her
scenes in Young Frankenstein.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she has a way with her voice. She's a talent. She was a talented singer, and so she would do
she has
these
these
things.
Inflections in her voice.
Oh, my God.
She really was a one of a kind.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
And she passed away in 1999, and I remember where I found out about the news. I was a sophomore in college, and I was at this Christmas tree lighting in Boston. And my friends and I, of course, we were quoting Clue, and because we were all Clue nerds. And then this random guy standing next to us turned around and said, Madeline Kahn died today.
Oh, my God.
And that's how I found, obviously before Twitter.
Yeah, I was going to say, you didn't have your smartphone.
There's no trending.
Wow.
And that's how I found out Madeline Kahn passed away.
And she was on Cosby
at the time.
Yeah.
The CBS version. Yeah.
And she was fun on that. I was glad that she was working, glad to see her. I was like, I love to see Madeline Kahn.
Yeah.
Great.
Voice in a Bug's Life. That was probably one of her last big movies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She's the butterfly?
I think so. I think she's the gypsy moth, I think. Yeah.
So I feel like Mrs. White was definitely probably my favorite character of all of them.
I mean, we're going to talk about my favorite character next.
All right, who have we got next?
Of course, I was obsessed with Miss Scarlett, played by Leslie Ann Warren.
Leslie Ann Warren. Mm-hmm. And that's green satin dress.
That beautiful green satin dress that she's almost just like busting out of.
Oh, yeah.
Like there is just so much like sexual energy out of this one.
She looks like
that
she is sewn into that dress.
Sewn into that dress and is just busting out of it. Yeah. I love it.
And right from the beginning, before we even like are fully introduced to her, like up close and see her face, her first shot is just her profile bending over
the car.
And she sees a car coming and it just perfectly shows you what kind of character she is.
She does the "it happened one night" thing.
Yeah, she lifts her leg, knowing a
kicks
car
her leg up.
will stop and slow down.
Yeah. Yeah. And you get the character, you get the type of character that she is right away, that she's just this no-nonsense kind of broad that's just like, all right, watch it,
She's not ashamed of what she did.
No. She doesn't deny it either.
She doesn't deny it at all. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Chain smoking through the whole movie.
Oh, yeah.
Just cigarette in her hand in practically every scene. When she goes to... When Mr. Green catches Cook, somebody help me, please.
Somebody help me, please.
And she goes over and she's like, cigarette in her hand, offers zero help. He just drops this dead woman on the ground, and Miss Scarlett drops her cigarette.
So we almost didn't have Leslie Ann Warren in this role. So Carrie Fisher was originally cast, and she ended up going to rehab for drug addiction days before the filming.
Oh.
And I guess that she was almost going to get out to do the role, but insurance wouldn't cover her, and they had to get Leslie at the very last minute.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. So she stepped into it without any preparation, pretty much.
The 80s Carrie Fisher that I remember just has that Joyce DeWitt, Pat Benatar
hair.
Short hair.
Yeah.
Yes.
When
Harry Met Sally.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, anytime
The Burbs.
The Burbs.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
She just always had that short 80s lady haircut. And they would have had to have wigged her. I think.
Yeah,
because I don't know that hair would have matched.
And they couldn't have had both Mrs. White and Miss Scarlett have short hair.
Yeah. I think to be a DC madam in the 50s, she would have had to have voluminous hair. Right? And I don't know, I just picture Carrie Fisher so tiny. She's so small. She was a short woman. I think she was 4'11" probably. And so next to Christopher Lloyd in those scenes, who, famously in Back to the Future, they rarely had Marty and Doc stand next to each other for more than a few moments.
Especially Michael J. Fox, because he's teeny.
Yeah, because he's 5'4".
Mm-hmm.
But I can see Carrie Fisher.
I could have seen it.
It would have worked.
She can also play abroad.
Yes.
Yeah.
She can definitely play comedy, but I'm so glad that it's Leslie, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She kills it.
Always my favorite as a kid.
The outfit was my favorite. I was just fascinated by the wrap that was attached by a brooch, and then just went around her and the gloves and everything.
Well, I think what we know your Halloween costume will be next year.
I don't know if I could sew that in. Jensen Karp had a really good story about Leslie Ann Warren, and he got a cameo from her. Oh. And in the cameo, she talked, because Clue is one of his favorite movies. In the cameo, she talked about it, and she talked about the costumes, and she talked about the dressers being there every day and the undergarments that they had to wear.
And I would imagine that she was probably fitted for all of this very last minute.
Probably,
she has a very different body type than Carrie.
Oh, absolutely.
If this dress was intended for her, they had to change a lot of it.
Yeah, it would have been the same size at all. So cameos are famously just on the website, so she might tell that story in a couple of them. So we'll check out Leslie Ann Warren's cameo later on.
Yeah, I definitely have to do that.
Can get some Clue anecdotes.
And actually, now that I'm remembering, I don't think the last screening I saw of Clue was at the midnight screening with you at the Vista, Scott. Mm-hmm. I think the last time I did see it in a big audience was at Cinespia.
Oh, okay.
Was it at the cemetery, or was it at...
It was at the cemetery, Hollywood Forever Cemetery.
Fun.
And it was, I want to say 2018.
Okay.
And Leslie Ann Warren showed up
Fun.
To introduce the movie.
And Leslie Ann Warren, for the most part of everything that I've read about it, she loves when people ask her about this movie.
And she's aged really well. She's like in her 70s now.
Yeah.
I was so delighted to see her, do a recurring role on Will and Grace back in the 2000s.
And very funny in that role.
Oh, my God.
Didn't they do a full Clue episode of Psych that she's in?
Yes, they did a Psych, a Clue tribute episode where I think I don't know if she played herself but was Martin Mull in it?
Oh, wow.
And someone else. But I think because the James Roday's character, the lead actor in Psych, I think he's a big Clue fan, and so
because he's our age.
Yeah,
James Roday. You mean James Rodriguez?
Really? Wow.
He
James Roday, who I competed with on 25 Words or Less 3 years ago.
Cool. Yeah.
On a game show.
He recently updated it, so his IMDb now says it's Roday Rodriguez hyphenated.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because that's his actual last name.
So he's kind of...
It's one of those situations where his management told him when he was really young, you got to change this because you don't look like
But now it's in to be non-white.
Or he just kind of, yeah. But yeah, they said you don't look Latin whatsoever.
Yeah.
So this is going to be too weird. So you need to change it.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Fun fact.
Okay.
But yeah, Leslie Ann Warren is amazing. She's fierce.
And
she's funny. She's everything.
She kills it.
Yeah.
I think she's so good here.
Yeah. Because she has a lot of really good reactions, like especially when I think it's the one where the ending where she did it,
Yeah,
and Wadsworth is
Her
says
back
something
and,
like
her
I
back
know,
and forth with the gun,
and I know who it was, and she's like who, and then, it's the one where everybody did it. I think it's in part 3 where he's like and I know who it was. She's like who, and yeah, the whole thing about like how many bullets are left in the gun. Be 1 + 1 + 1 + 2 + 1, not 1 + 2 + 1 + 1.
Shut up. What matters is one bullet and you're going to get it.
Who do we got next, Scott?
I like that she is giving zero time for Colonel Mustard, playing by Martin Mull.
Love it. Yeah. Their relationship, their dynamic is great.
Yeah.
Because he's always like, all right, let's go search the house. She's like, oh, good. You love that you died when their matches, they got the right, they pulled the right straw to be on a team together, and she was just like, ugh, good. She visibly flinches.
She has great reactions. Even when she's like investigating the ballroom, and she's like creeping up on the curtain, and she lets out this.
Yeah.
It's like shrieky.
That scene's pretty suspenseful too.
Yeah.
I always think someone's gonna like jump out at her.
It's just a broken window. It's just a wind
with a little bit of a breeze.
Yeah.
Yep.
Little wind coming through the window. Yeah.
But Colonel Mustard, Martin Mull.
Yeah.
I just saw him in the final season of Grace and Frankie.
Oh, okay.
And so good for him for still working as well.
Yeah. Martin Mull did a few seasons on Roseanne.
Leon.
Yeah.
Does Leon come back for the Connors? Do they get Martin Mull at all?
Yeah, I don't
know.
think so. Yeah, I watched all of it, and
the
I don't remember.
I'd be curious to see where that character is now.
Right? Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, they should bring him
Well,
back.
they married him to Fred Willard.
Yeah, they did. They married him off to Fred Willard. And, in the 90s to have, he wasn't a main character on the show, he wasn't a lead by any means, but he was a co-owner of the Lunchbox.
When we were...
And they had a gay wedding.
Yeah.
On
Roseanne. Roseanne plans it, and she has Go-Go Boys for him. When we were watching those episodes of Roseanne a few months ago, I was kind of thinking it was interesting that if you were to have a gay character on a sitcom now, it would be a very different type than what he plays. But I kind of like that they're that specific with Leon on Roseanne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the early episodes when they just find out he's gay and like he hides it from his mother and Roseanne like tells the boyfriend she kind of tells him like it is like, well, you got to get him to talk to his mom about it. Yeah. His stuff on Roseanne's great.
And it's also interesting. I know we're on a Roseanne kick now.
Okay.
It's probably, portraying a realistic Midwestern small town,
absolutely,
blue collar town gay man.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
What
the hell am I still doing in this town after all these years? Kind of a guy, yeah. But Colonel Mustard's a fun character. He's
war profiteer.
A war profiteer.
Would steal parts from planes and sell them, right?
And how many of our airmen died because their radios didn't work?
That line made me LOL last night.
But he came into money when he lost his mommy and daddy.
That line always made my dad laugh. My dad and my uncle always laughed at my mommy and daddy. That one. Yeah. And then so he has ties to Miss Scarlett because she's the madam and he would often visit her girls, right? And then the motorist was his driver. Everybody's
in the war.
His motorist was his driver in the war. The motorist. I love that. Just that phrase.
Motorist.
Just someone who showed up in a car. So he's the motorist.
I guess it was a 1950s way of saying
that dude in the other room. Yeah.
Michael Mckean is Mr. Green. Were you
right?
Were you scandalized when you were
right.
young when they call him out being gay? I remember sort of being
the
like,
whole reason that he's being blackmailed. The only reason that he's being blackmailed. He's not. I mean, he is doing something illegal. It's 1954.
Yeah.
But he's existing. But, he's not stealing government secrets.
He's just being himself.
He's just being a homosexual.
And I have to say, 1985, Michael Mckean.
Oh, right?
Get it.
Right.
Is adorable.
Yeah, super cute.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hi, Michael Mckean.
Yes. We always said that if they ever did another Clue movie.
Which they are.
Which, I mean, supposedly they're
Ryan Reynolds.
They're rewriting. I read a recent thing that they're rewriting the script. So there are still drafts that they're making of it.
Oh, jeez.
Right. But before all of this,
Yes.
my friends and I always said if they ever did another Clue movie, that it should be Christopher Guest.
Yeah. All of the Christopher Guest
Michael
actors.
McKean went on to go do all the Christopher
that
Guest
would be.
movies. But wouldn't that be
what?
great? Yeah.
I had a conversation with someone too about if they were to redo Clue, keep it still period specific.
Yeah. Have to.
Catherine O'Hara as Mrs. Peacock.
Yeah, exactly.
And Megan Mullally as Mrs. White.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking Parker Posey as Mrs. White.
Okay.
If you're going to go with the Christopher Guest.
If you're going to go the Christopher Guest route, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like it. And Michael McKean as Mr. Green.
Yeah.
And why am I blanking on her name? She just won the Emmy.
Jennifer Coolidge.
As Yvette.
Perfect.
There you go. But if we are going by ending number 3 being the real ending, then Mr. Green isn't really a homosexual. He's
going to go home and sleep with his wife.
With his wife. So I was always kind of like, it was a lie.
Yeah.
He's been a plant. But why?
I thought men like you were called a fruit.
I'm a plant. See, because I didn't even know what a plant meant. I was like, a plant? What is that? Why is he a plant?
And I don't think I got the fruit
yeah.
either.
Yeah. And then when he says, I'm a homosexual, and everybody's just like, Wadswroth, if you look, they cut to Wadswroth and Miss Scarlett are standing next to each other. And Wadswroth, as soon as he says it in the cutaway, he just has... he has the papers, files in his hands, and he just looks at them and just starts kind of thumbing through them, okay, he's gonna look away.
Well, I interpreted that reaction as Wadswroth going through that wasn't in his file.
Sure.
He just outed himself for no reason. Maybe there was another secret.
Sure,
and Wadswroth didn't have that on the file.
See, that would make sense too, because I was like, if he wasn't really a homosexual and he was a plant the whole time, then they were blackmailing him for how long? This is a long con the FBI is playing, so maybe part 3 isn't really the real ending. You don't know. But I think Michael McKean his physical comedy is great when he breaks that table.
Yeah, so good. Makes me laugh every time.
And then at the end when Wadswroth tosses him into the bathroom during his reenactment.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, great. All that stuff is great.
And his accident-prone moments.
Yeah, every time the gong and the doorbell and all
and
that
thunder
stuff.
And the soup.
Yeah, just spilling his drinks on all the ladies.
We'll round out talking about the cast. Christopher Lloyd as Professor Plum.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I love Christopher Lloyd. I mean, that's the thing. It's like he's
I feel like
Doc.
Professor Plum doesn't get to do probably
right.
as he doesn't get to have as much fun as everybody else is in the movie.
Yes. He's kind of like the pencil-necked, stiff, intellectual who, can't have any fun.
Yeah, and even when he's scheming in the movie, it's still not even that fun because the only thing he really does is he says Mr. Body's dead when he clearly isn't, and
his funniest line is probably, "It's you and me, honey bunch."
Yeah, that's a good with
when he and Mrs. Peacock get paired up.
Yeah, that line's great.
And the singing telegram woman played by
Jane Weedland.
Jane Weedland from the Go-Go's was his assistant.
Or a student.
His student.
Yeah.
Yes.
That they had a relationship with. Yep.
One of his lines, he says he works for the United Nations organization. And he worked for a branch of the United Nations organization, the World Health Organization, which are both real organizations.
And it's you know who.
It's you know who. When you put it together. That was another thing that my uncle caught and said out loud. And me and my sister were like, what? And I always thought that was great. And then, he says something about like working for like, I forgot what he said, but he said something like working for like criminally insane or something. But then I started working with the government, and Wadswroth said, so your work hasn't changed. Just little things like that, just little jabs that are in there that it's like, okay, that's funny as a kid, but
it's great.
They're great jokes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yvette, calling camp as Yvette is great. We also have the motorist and the cop who are just kind of like pawns, I guess.
Yeah.
They're brought in just to kind of stir things up.
Who get added to the body count.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
The motorist was in Jaws and Jaws 2. Oh, I think that he works for the sheriff's department.
Yes, he is. He's he's the guy that works for. He's like the assistant that Brody sends to go get like paint and like poster
to
boards.
put the sign on the beach.
Yeah,
okay, sure.
At the very beginning of Jaws, yeah. And Jane Weedland of the Go-Go's was kind of going through a moment in the 80s and the mid to late 80s.
I was going to have you.
She was in a lot of
I was going to
movies.
see if you could guess her IMDb most known for.
Because
she did briefly act in the 80s.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it just all cameos? Is it Clue and Bill and Ted? Are they on there?
Clue, Bill and Ted.
Oh, that's right.
She's in a Star Trek movie, Pete.
She's Joan of Arc.
She is Joan of Arc. She is in the Voyage Home, Star Trek 4.
Yeah,
she's
the one
on
where they
screen.
save the whales.
The one where they save the whales.
And then a movie called the Pyrex Glitch, which I am not familiar
with the Pyrex.
It is directed
Glitch.
by Jane Weedland too.
Oh.
Work.
That's why it's on her most known for. Interesting. But the thing is, Jane Weedland is like beautiful, this gorgeous like woman. She's in this like cool pop punk band, and she looks like Winona Ryder. So they were like, let's get her in movies.
Speaking of punk band, Lee
Ving
was the singer of a band called The Fear.
Oh, he's in Fear. Yeah,
Fear.
he's in
Yep.
Fear. That's right.
Very interesting.
Oh, okay. And Lee Ving also showed up in an episode of Who's the Boss
Oh.
in the early 90s.
Okay.
That's the only other time I've seen him.
Yeah, I remember we always thought it was
In
funny.
Flashdance.
His name is Lee Ving. But I mean, that's his punk band name.
I did not get that until just now. I'm so embarrassed. Holy! Why did I not?
He's leaving.
Why did I not get that?
Oh,
until
I
just
don't think
now?
that I.
You didn't get it either.
I didn't get
Leaving?
that. I didn't get that either. You have to say it out loud.
Come on.
He's leaving. Why did I not get that?
Yeah,
And
and he's
so-
Mr. Body. He gets killed first.
Oh my God, leaving.
Yeah. And his Mr. Body is like the slime ball. Like his
I know,
Mr.
it's like
Body
he came from the set of Goodfellas.
Yes. He's wearing like 50s like cool guy clothes, like greaser clothes, and his hair slicked back. And he's got like these cool shoes on.
I want to know where he went shopping for those boxes and purple ribbons.
Yes, the purple ribbon.
Like that was they all came custom sized for each weapon.
Each box, yeah, absolutely.
Do you remember who gets each weapon?
Oh, I do.
Let's hear it.
Okay. Mrs. Peacock gets the knife.
Yes, she holds it.
Mr. Green gets the lead pipe. Professor Plum gets the gun, revolver.
Yeah.
Miss Scarlett gets a candlestick. What's this for? Mrs. White gets the rope.
Yeah.
The wrench is
Colonel Mustard.
Colonel Mustard. Yes.
Yeah, because he carries it into the billiard room.
Yes.
There is safety in numbers.
My darling. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, of course we remember who. But that's such a clever thing too, because they have to incorporate the elements of the game, and they do it in a way that's like, all right, it works for me.
It feels
doesn't-
organic to the story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It doesn't feel shoehorned in. They're used throughout the movie. The gun is used throughout. There's one for the chandelier, two for the door, two for the gun cabinet.
The knife gets plunged into the cook.
Mm-hmm. it will go further into our back.
Yes.
Does the motorist get hit over the head with the candlestick, or
With
is
the
it
wrench.
The wrench.
So you see the killer's hand holding the wrench,
And
and
the
it
cop,
ends up being Colonel Mustard himself.
Yeah. And the cop is the lead pipe,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Da-da,
Yvette,
da-da,
the rope,
da-da.
yeah. Yeah, but the gun is definitely the most.
That's another moment when the singing telegram gets killed. I love all 6 shots of all the characters in the shadows. Once they hear the shot, you see all the reactions. That's such a great moment. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
I've always wondered how they shot that. I mean, they must have, I don't know, lined them up somehow to get it easily shot and done.
Yeah, all the stuff in the dark when whoever is that well, I guess in the different versions,
because Miss Scarlett hits it in one.
Turns off the power to go kill Yvette. Yeah, I think Miss Scarlett does it in the first one, but that throttled Yvette run down the hall.
Okay, so then Miss Scarlett is ending A.
Yes.
Mrs. Peacock is ending 2.
And I love how Eileen Brennan, once Wadsworth figures it out, she just completely changes her character.
Oh yeah, her voice gets lower. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah. What does she call Howard Hessman? Yeah, beatnik.
Yeah. The kingdom of heaven is at hand.
It's already. I got news for you. It's already here.
Your souls are in danger. Our lives are in danger. You beatnik.
There it is. Yeah.
Haven't you ever wanted to say that to a Jehovah Witness that knocks on your door?
And then when Mrs. Peacock goes out to her car after waving her gun, threatening everyone, Howard Hessman shows up from head of the
Peacock.
class.
Yes, from head of the class.
And how did you know my name? The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Throws the
when she changes her voice and he's just like, okay, we're all gonna leave. We're gonna pile the bodies down there and we're gonna leave one by one.
Great idea.
Yeah.
I think I'll go first.
yeah, love that. She's so good.
And can we just take a moment to remember her on Will and Grace as well? Another Clue
Zandra
playing Zandra.
And she was an acting teacher, right?
Yeah,
she was Jack's acting teacher.
Class,
okay,
yeah.
Zandra with a Z, not Zandra with an S, because Zandra with a Z goes, this is nuts. And she is the one that we sing for "She's a Jolly Good Fellow."
That's right. She's leaving,
when she leaves, and we get the amazing ad lib harmonies. She just does like little bits that she drops in there. That is so funny. We'll have to get that recorded and put it in.
Yeah,
because I love it.
I have not mentioned, and our friend Matt Emmerich would be probably upset if we did not talk about Deborah Hill. She produced this movie.
Yes,
so I think that a lot of this cast might be the ideas of like Deborah Hill, because Deborah Hill is one of those old school movie producers where she is the sole producing credit of this movie, I think.
Yeah. And, having done Halloween and hearing Jamie Lee Curtis talk about how they were friends, they became really good friends since Halloween, it makes me wonder, was Jamie Lee Curtis ever in the running to play Miss Scarlett?
Was she doing like Perfect in 85? Maybe she couldn't fit it in.
Oh, true. She was doing Perfect.
She was doing all those
aerobics. I think I was looking up the costume designer, and he did Perfect.
Of this movie?
Of Clue.
Well, he was able to do both. Why couldn't she? Okay, yeah, that is. I always forget that Deborah Hill is credit. And it's so crazy when you see those movies where it just says produced by one person.
Yeah, and just one of those pioneering and even female producers.
Even the closing credits after they do the playing cards at the end. The closing credits scene, the closing credits roll
is so short.
Is not that long compared to.
Yeah,
I mean, all we have are blockbusters now. At the movie theaters with special effects and everything, but. That was like a modestly budgeted. This was simple comedy on one stage.
Yeah.
And what was the budget? Do we know?
Oh, this was probably around $10 million in 1985. And also, it's probably one of her first big movies that she produced without John, too, because they had long since been divorced. Because I think that they separated as they were making The Fog.
Oh, okay.
And The Fog is like 81, so it was a few years after.
80, yeah, I remember.
So this is our, let me count it here. This is our 8th movie from 1985 that we've done on the show.
Wow.
Out of how many episodes?
I mean,
170.
Okay.
The budget for this movie, by the way, really quick, $15 million.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's about right.
Yeah.
So the movies from 1985 that we have done: Clue, Weird Science, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, Commando, Legend, Return to Oz, Fright Night, and Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Wow.
And to kind of celebrate the rockin' year of 1985,
Yeah.
I have a little quiz. So
Okay.
hopefully you can remember
All right.
all of those movies.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Out of all of these movies, what do you think the highest grossing was?
Oh,
Made the most money?
Back to the Future.
Oh, we haven't done
Oh,
that.
you haven't.
That's
Sorry,
not in there.
Sorry, I'm
That's
like
we haven't
not
done
in
Back to the
there.
Future. Mhm.
Out of
Wait,
those,
say the list one more
Yeah, say
time
the
so we can know that we remember them all.
Clue, Weird Science, Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, Commando, Legend, Return to Oz, Fright Night, and Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
I will say Commando.
It was Commando.
I was gonna say
$35 million. It's
Commando.
the highest grossing movie.
All right.
35.
Wow.
Oh my god.
At the lowest grossing, what do you think it is?
Oof.
Oh.
Not
Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Oz.
It's Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Oh, wow. All
At
right.
$6 million.
All right.
$6 million. Jesus.
One of these movies came out in the United States in 1986. So it was released in England in 85.
Oh.
December of 85. It didn't make it over to North America until April.
Of 86.
Mm-hmm.
Not science. I'm going to say Freddy 2.
No, Freddy's 2 is a Halloween released movie.
No!
I'll say Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
No.
Return to Oz.
No!
Nope.
Legend.
No!
It is Legend.
Legend. I knew it.
Kind of primarily an English production,
Yeah.
so they released it over there first.
Yeah.
What did these
Should've
movies
known
star Robert Russler?
Weird Science and Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Very good.
Yeah.
What is the highest Rotten Tomatoes score of all of these movies?
Whew. Critics score.
What's the actual percentage, or what
Just
movie?
Which one has the
Which
highest?
one has the
Which
highest?
one has the highest?
Yeah. They take into account like from the time.
I think it's primarily from the time.
Yeah. Gosh,
Although
they
there
probably all got
could
weird
be
ones.
new
Yeah.
reviews put in there now.
Maybe I'll say Fright Night.
It's
was
Fright
gonna
Night
say
at
Fright
82%.
Night, yeah.
Yep. What is the lowest?
Freddy
Nightmare
2.
2.
Yeah.
No, I was kind of surprised.
Oh.
Nightmare 2 is 42%, which is a lot more than I thought it would.
Weird Science.
No.
Oh.
Weird Science was 56. There's a lot of sort of middle of the road reviews for these movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
It's Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Wow.
What movies were written by the director? And there is multiple of them.
Oh, really?
Which movie?
So what directors co-wrote some of the movies?
Weird
or
Science
wrote by
for
themselves.
one.
So Weird Science is one.
That's John Hughes.
John Hughes. Mm-hmm.
Clue.
Clue is the other one.
Jonathan Lynn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's two more.
Then there's going to be weird ones that like we would have no idea. Commando.
No.
No!
What else haven't you?
Legend?
No.
Did you say?
No!
Did you say Weird Science already?
Yeah, because
Okay.
John Hughes.
Yeah. Fright Night.
Fright Night. Tom Holland co-wrote.
Yeah.
Right. And
Fright Night, and there's one more.
Not
He
Spider-Man's
is
Tom Holland.
He is a
The other Tom Holland.
he is a Oscar-winning editor. Oh. He won an Academy Award for editing The English Patient. He wrote a book on like editing too, that you read in film school.
And he directed one of these movies.
It was sort of a passion project for him with Disney.
Return to Oz.
It's Return to Oz.
Who knew? Who is it? What's his name?
Walter Murch.
Ah.
Which of these movies has a future Oscar winner?
Oh.
So they had yet to win.
Oh.
She is very young in this movie.
Fairuza Balk.
I wish Bruce Balk had an Oscar.
Alyssa Milano.
Girls Just Want to Have Fun?
Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Helen Hunt.
Oh, yeah. Helen
Won Best
Hunt.
Actress
In 1998.
1998 for As Good as It Gets. All right, last one. Which of these movies has Vernon Wells in it from Mad Max?
Oh.
He's in 2 of these movies.
I know both. Because we love Vernon Wells.
Is he the guy who also was in The Breakfast Club?
No.
The principal?
Vernon
No.
Wells is one of the motorcycle
in Road Warrior.
BDSM guys with his cute punk rock twink. Mm-hmm.
Nightmare 2?
No.
It's Weird Science and Commando.
Very good.
Yeah.
That's our 1985 year. I was just kind of thinking that as we were watching it yesterday that we've done a lot of movies from this year. Another year that we're getting up there is 87.
Okay.
Too.
Right. 85 was a magical year.
I mean, clearly with all those movies.
Three of my top 5 favorite movies.
Year
are from
Back
that
to
year.
the Future.
What are those 3 of your top 5?
Clue, The Goonies, and The Breakfast Club.
Yeah. Bangers.
Mm-hmm.
I love The Goonies. I saw that in the theater.
I did too. That was one of my first.
Yeah.
It was probably my second movie I saw when I was in the theater.
Yeah.
I remember my mom told me that she was pregnant with me when she went to Back to the Future with my uncle.
Wow.
So was that my first movie that I ever saw? Mm-hmm. And that was summer of 85. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, Clue, I feel like I can just put it on at any time. And even though I do know all the dialogue and everything that's going to happen, and it's a mystery, but it doesn't matter.
It's fun to watch it unfold.
Yeah.
And I'm cautiously optimistic about the remake or whatever you want to call it.
It could work.
Ryan Reynolds is doing.
Is he still producing it? Because I know that he
think
had a whole
so.
thing with do we say Parker Brothers was?
Yeah, Parker Brothers.
Oh,
I think
really?
that he had a whole deal with Parker Brothers, but I don't know if it went anywhere though.
But it's still the same writers as Deadpool.
I don't know. And I also think this is a script that's probably changed
So many
screenwriters
times.
so many times too.
Well, I'm cautiously optimistic because I think this is the first time that one of my top 10 all-time favorite movies is being remade.
Sure.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
because you have other movies that you hold so dear to your heart. You like swear that you'll burn down Hollywood the minute they announce that they're remaking it. Like, how could they ever do The Breakfast Club? They could never touch that.
Yeah.
But I would have to say, though, in recent memory, the movie that came close to being like a spiritual cousin to Clue for me.
Sure.
Knives Out?
Well, no, but I love Knives Out. That's more of a homage to the classic murder mystery movies. Like, I would say Game Night from 2018.
Yeah, I've never seen Game Night.
Oh,
I have not seen it.
That is one of the best comedies of the decade.
That's Jason Bateman,
Jason
right?
Bateman,
Jason
Rachel McAdams.
I need to see it.
Isn't that the one where Jeremy Renner broke both of his arms?
No, that was Tag.
Stunt.
That
was Tag. Thank God.
Kyle Chandler is in it.
Okay, love Kyle.
Married to Kirsten Dunst. From Power of
Oh
the
yes,
Dog. Jesse Plemons. Jesse Plemons, yeah.
He's hysterical in that. And Sharon Hogan, the British actress. Sharon Hogan, I think, from Catastrophe. It's such a tight script.
Sure.
And it's so funny. And it's so well done. And it involves a semi-murder mystery / scavenger hunt. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I need to get along. I need to get.
I
along
actually,
to it.
you guys can come over. I have the digital copy and the Blu-ray.
Oh,
so
nice.
I introduced that movie to people like several times in the last 4 years since it came out. It's that kind of like I felt really close to coming to how I felt about Clue.
Apparently, there was a Clue the storybook. Did you ever get your hands on that?
The storybook, no, but I have
It was
two
released in tie with the movie.
God, I would love to track that down.
Yeah.
I did have the young adult novels that had different mysteries to solve.
Okay.
And I think they were kind of in a choose your own adventure format.
Okay. And they were Clue branded, or
Yeah, they were Clue branded.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I'm seeing that they filmed a 4th unused ending. Do you know anything about that?
What?
No.
So in the fourth unused ending, Wadsworth committed all the murders. He was motivated by his desire for perfection. Having failed to be either the perfect husband or the perfect butler, he decided to be the perfect murderer instead. Wadsworth reported that he poisoned the champagne the guests had drunk earlier so that they soon would die, leaving no witnesses. The police and the FBI arrive, and Wadsworth is arrested. He breaks free, steals a police car, and his escape is thwarted by when 3 police dogs lunge from the back seat. And apparently that is in Clue the Storybook, and they decided that that ending was just a little too much.
You think?
But apparently they shot it, though.
They did.
Wow. That's what I saw on Wiki today.
That's where they need to release like a special edition anniversary Blu-ray.
Yeah, we need behind the scenes
or a box set.
Lynn said that they cut it because he just said it wasn't very good looking at it.
Oh my god!
In the movie when it was all cut together.
Have you ever seen the children's show Clue that came out maybe 6-7 years ago?
No.
It was, I don't know if it was a Saturday, it was on some cable network, but it was like Clue with like young teenagers globetrotting around the world to like solve mysteries.
Are they like the kids of
No,
the
it's
characters?
Like, it's totally unrelated, I think.
Okay.
But
I always thought that would be a good idea when I was a kid. Is doing a movie or
like The Descendants
or a TV show like The Descendants with the children of the players from the game.
Okay. Isn't there a Clue Junior as
there
well?
Is Clue Junior, yeah, that's a version,
and
that's probably it.
Yeah,
those must be like Miss Scarlett as a little girl.
I saw a stage production of Clue, and it was based on the script.
So did I.
Did you see it at the La Mirada?
Yes.
But yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, with Mary Birdsong from Reno 911 as Mrs. Peacock.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
It was great.
It was fun. My whole family, we were just like loving it.
Yeah.
Funny, had some new stuff. The staging was really cool.
Mr.
The way
Green was also really cute.
Oh, yes, he was. But he was straight, though. I stalked him.
Oh, I stalked him too. I immediately looked up that actor on Instagram. I'm like, damn it.
I forgot about that. Yeah, he was super
so
cute.
Adorable.
And he was real, like, physical. Like, he did stuff with his body that we were like,
he had that lanky frame.
Yeah.
That he like kind of stole the show. Because
he did.
He got 2 of the biggest reactions from the audience.
Mm-hmm. He did stuff like where they would knock him down and he would like fall backwards, but he would be able to like bring his body back up to like a standing position because he's just really like wiry and thin. But he was very cute, and like in the playbill, you know, all their names are there, so we're like stalking him immediately.
Yeah. straight to Instagram.
Yeah, that was really fun. There's so many versions of this game. We found at in your grandparents' basement like 60s version of this game.
Those were,
it was the cover was
they
like
were illustrated
in a really like almost
it was almost kind of like Pink Panther-ish.
A little Pink Panther-y, I think a little Mary
Blair.
Mary Blair,
yep.
Little Mary Blair looking, very like blocky and like color,
like that shag artwork you see in Palm Springs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then I had the VCR game, which you can look up on YouTube, which is super corny but really fun and very complicated. But my sister and I played it a couple times.
I think we should do that as soon as this episode is over. I need to see this.
Yeah, it's great. I was never in Sumatra. If anybody remembers the Clue VCR game.
Well, speaking of now the iterations, I have 4.
Yeah, you were mentioning
I have
that.
Original Clue. I have Clue Master Detective with 10 characters.
Oh, okay.
Miss Peach, Sergeant Grey.
Sergeant Grey, yeah. And
Madame Rose.
Okay.
And, oh my God, who's the 4th one?
Miss Peach, Sergeant Grey,
yeah,
Madame Rose. Oh, and is a French guy.
Oh, yes, Monsieur
Brown?
Maybe,
yeah.
And the sketchings are really cool, too. He was kind of hot. And I have Golden Girls Clue.
I was going to say, I'm sure you have Golden Girls, because like me, you probably watch Golden Girls every single day. So who gets killed in Golden Girls Clue?
The mystery in Golden Girls Clue is who ate the cheesecake and in what room.
In what room?
It should
With
be
what utensil?
It should be Who Killed Stan.
Right?
That's a little too dark. Who killed Stan?
And
I
then
love it.
I have another clue called Lost in Vegas.
Ooh.
And you're trying to solve the whereabouts of like the drunk. It's almost like The Hangover. You're trying to find what happened to the groom in Vegas.
Okay.
And I actually haven't played that yet. I bought it and I haven't found anyone to play it with yet.
Okay.
So there's that.
We have Simpsons Clue.
We do have Simpsons Clue. I
that's
don't think I've
about
ever
it.
played
I
it.
think that's about
Who
it.
killed Mr. Burns?
Well, it's hard to play with just 2 people.
Do you remember who's the one?
Not really.
I feel like all of these themed Clue games, it's never a murder.
Yeah, it's just because it's like The Simpsons, so it's like it's who ate the
I think they have. I think I saw Big Bang Theory Clue.
I've seen that. Yeah.
There's also.
There's got to be Stranger Things Clue. There's Stranger Things everything.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stranger Things, the Ouija board.
Monopoly. Yeah.
Stranger Things.
There
Monopoly.
actually is a
there
Ouija
actually
board.
is a Ouija board.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. All the letters are on Christmas lights. But yeah, I think right now we only have Simpsons, and then when we were in Montana last and we found the really cool 60s version, the only reason we didn't bring it back,
fit it in my suitcase.
yeah, we didn't drive that time, we flew. So we were like, this is not going to fit in our bags with all of our stuff, so we had to leave it. But it's there next time. Next time we drive, let's throw it in the trunk.
Any last thoughts on Clue as we wrap things up?
Let's watch it now.
This movie's so much fun. It's so rewatchable. And like we mentioned before, like there is just something about this movie for the little gay children to just really latch onto.
It's the energy and the quick whips.
Yeah.
The quick quips.
Yeah.
And the female characters.
Yeah.
And just, it has that queer sensibility. And you have Mr. Green, who's, even though he's a faux homosexual.
In one ending.
It just, I don't know. You find yourself drawn to it. And I remember before I knew what the movie was, I have a vague memory of like catching it on TV during a scene when they're all running throughout the mansion. And it like appealed to me, so I was drawn to it for some reason. Like I wanted to know who were these people in these fancy clothes running back and forth in a fancy mansion.
This huge mansion, yeah. Totally. It's not streaming right now. It's usually on Prime.
It kind of goes on and off. I think that it's been on the Paramount Network
it's
Paramount
on Showtime
Plus
right now. It's on Showtime right now. So if you have Showtime added to your Paramount Plus for an extra $2. Then you can watch it.
Or you can always get it at Target for $3.99.
Absolutely.
Because it's always, the DVD's always at Target for $3.99.
Did they ever have it in a double pack with something? What would it be with?
Oh, yeah, Clue and...
it has to be another Paramount title.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
They usually do that, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. But, go. If you want a hard copy, it's just as cheap as if you were to just rent it off of your... You can rent it on Amazon or Prime.
I still support physical media. So.
Yeah, same. We have all of ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is available for rent on any of your streaming platforms, and it usually will come back to Amazon Prime or Paramount Plus or something like that for you to stream. But if you haven't watched it yet, what are you doing with your life? Go watch it.
Get on it. Hiko, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you for having me again. I look forward to my 3-timer jacket.
Absolutely. We'll get our smoking jackets in shortly. But yeah, this was so much fun. We'll have you on again for the 4th Timers Club.
Please.
We'll think about what movie that can be in the meantime. But it's time to say goodbye. Thank you so much, everybody. Where is it? Here it is. Bye, guys. I didn't do it. Thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Fun episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hope that you had a great Thanksgiving.
Yes.
We're going into December. We have a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah.
In the month of December.
A lot of cool stuff coming up. And yeah, if you still haven't seen Clue, there's plenty of ways to go out and watch this movie. Give it a shot if you haven't seen it yet. But, I mean, what are you doing if you haven't seen it? Come on. But yeah, December is coming up. We got a lot of fun stuff. And we are happy to bring that to you and hope to see you then. But I think right now...
Time for Patreon shout-outs.
How did you know? All right, we want to give a big shout out and hello to all of our wonderful patrons, including Lisa, Alexis, Thomas, Mark, Jackson, Millie, Darcy, Ted, Benny, Jermel, Melanie, Christopher, Susan, JJ, Shelby, Michael, Muffy, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Genevieve, Dawn, Joshua, Emma, Melly, Aaron, Melinda and Jim, Jessica, Nick and Shannon, Christine, and Rufino.
Thank you for being a friend.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. All of your donations are so very helpful to us. They help us keep the show up and running and ad-free for your listening pleasure. And head over to patreon.com/movies that made us gay for all of our additional bonus content.
You'll get access to our bonus episode, which is the Watch With Us commentary.
Mm-hmm. There are plenty of Watch With Us commentary tracks. There's over 20 of those, and new ones coming each month. You can sync them up with the movie that we're watching and listen along with us as we're commenting on the movie in real time, or you can just listen to it as a supplemental episode. That's up to you. Anytime a movie is prepped and ready before the release date, we'll also post it on Patreon, so you can listen to some episodes a little bit early. So head over to patreon.com/movies that made us gay for that and more. Thank you so much.
Also, leave us a review on Spotify or iTunes. We would love to see it and maybe read it on the show. It really helps out with the visibility on those platforms. We would love that.
Absolutely. Apple Podcasts and Spotify, you're able to leave a 5-star rating, and on Apple Podcasts, you can write a review, and we'll read them on an upcoming episode.
Yeah,
so
you can.
Please head over and check that out.
Also, give us a follow at Facebook or Instagram at Movies That Made Us Gay, and on Twitter at MTMUGPod.
Absolutely. If you want to follow our personals, feel free to do that. I'm Pete. I'm at Peter Lasagna on Instagram and Twitter.
I'm Scott Youngballer on Instagram, and follow my letterbox.
Yes, indeed. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Flames. Flames. On the side of my face. Breathing. Heaving breaths.